Every guide and faculty will ask you for evidence during your PG life. We are in the era of information explosion, and it is an important life skill to sift through all the Google nonsense and find good, robust evidence. This will help you in your future clinical practice also. So let us invite Dr. Praveen Jodalli to help us understand how to read and understand scientific literature and practice evidence-based dentistry. Over to you, sir.
A very good morning to one and all. First of all, I welcome you all to Yenepoya Dental College, the prestigious institute, and I congratulate each one of you for getting into post-graduation. And now that you guys have, is the screen visible to everybody? Yes, yes. Okay. Okay, so I'll be covering this topic called as journal club. So this is a very interesting topic. Now that you have shifted from your undergraduate studies to postgraduate, you must be wondering, or you must be hearing a lot of this particular thing, your research guides or your seniors talking about journals, articles. So you must be wondering what is all this. So now that you have heard this word a lot, you should orient yourself, or you should know what is journal club. So I'll be just covering quickly few subheadings in this topic. So you need to know what is a journal first. Then you should get yourself oriented to different type of scientific writing. You should know about what kind of scientific papers are available or there in the library or online. Then you should know what are the types of journal clubs. Then you should also know how to critically evaluate or critically appraise the scientific article and how to do it. I'll just brief you today, or I'll try to orient you all today in this regard. Now, so what is this all about? See, as you all know, this medical or dental literature is continuously expanding. What was available 10 years back has changed or transformed totally now. The ideas, the concept, the beliefs, and say maybe the protocol, the treatment protocol, or the diagnostic protocols, everything, there is a rapid transformation. So to keep up with the vast amount of information available, you need to go into literature, you need to read articles, or you need to read journals. So this journal club, like in this entire 3 years, you will be very much doing this, or you will be very actively involved in this journal club presentations, or you will be attending these journal clubs. So this journal club provides what a forum to remain current with the existing literature, and or it offers an opportunity to learn method of critically evaluating the journal articles. So once you have read the journals or the journal articles, you should have the capacity to critically evaluate what these journal articles are telling, or what these journal articles are saying. So basically, these journal clubs are organized around a defined subject in a specific or a basic research, or it can be in an applied research. Now, so what is this journal? You have been hearing about what is a journal or what is an article. So what is a journal? So it is basically a periodical which is aimed at a particular discipline. So how this journal differs from a magazine? See, you guys must be knowing what is a magazine. You all must have seen what are these magazines. So they differ a lot from magazines. You have these food magazines, or you have these Stardust, and you have these auto magazines. So they differ a lot from journals. Okay, so these journals are basically intended for specialists. So you guys will become specialists in next 3 years, and they're not made for general readers. then these journals are basically written by academicians or say clinicians, researchers, and not by journalists. And they are more prestigious when they are compared to magazines. So this is a basic difference between a magazine and a journal. So now, why do we need to read a journal? So the first question is, when you have entered post-graduation and you have shifted yourself from your undergraduate curriculum and you have joined PG. So why do you need to read journals? So first thing is, basically when you start reading journals, you basically impress others, or you can also put it in a way that others get impressed by you seeing journals or you reading journals. And the next thing is whether to use a new or existing diagnostic test. So in these journals, you will get to know whether you can use an earlier existing diagnostic test or a new diagnostic test. Then you'll also come to know whom it may concern, whether to distinguish useful from a useless or even a harmful diagnostic test or a treatment protocol or whatever. Then you also, also these journal clubs helps to find out the need for healthcare, the use of healthcare, quality and cost effectiveness of any clinical intervention or any clinical trial which is given or which is existing, which will help you in deciding what protocol to follow and what to reject. So all these things. And you will read, why do you need to read a journal is because it will help you to be updated what is happening in the professional news. If you skip the present literature or the existing literature, you might miss so much on COVID. Every day there is some professional news which is getting added to the literature. So to be updated, you need to read journals. Then reading journals or reading articles will also help you to handle a specific problem. You can call it as a clinical problem, or you can call it any problem in terms of diagnosis or whatever. Then it will also help you to learn clinical features and the cause or the etiopathogenesis of any particular disease you are interested to study in. Then what are the different types of scientific writing? Now, so when you know what is a journal and why do you need to read journals, it is very important for us to know what are the different types of scientific writing. So when you have joined post-graduation, you are not really aware of the types of scientific writing. You hear just this one word called as articles. You need to find articles. You must have heard it from your guides or your teachers who tell you to find articles for your dissertation, or find articles for your thesis topic, or you might have heard find articles for your library dissertation. Okay, so this is a very common word which you keep hearing. So what are these different types of scientific writing? So the most common thing which you keep seeing is original article. So what is this original article, also called as original research? So these are what these are a new piece of knowledge. Normally consists of 2,000 to 3,000 words. Okay, so these will give you a new piece of knowledge. So they are called original research articles. Then you have something called as case report or case series. So what are these case reports and case series? So this is a single event that could lead to a new piece of knowledge. So it might be just one particular case or a series of cases which will lead to a new information or new knowledge. Then you have something called as review articles. So in review articles, you would see many kind of reviews. There are something called as narrative reviews. There are review of reviews. Then there are mini reviews, and there are systematic reviews. So in these review articles, what you see basically in these kind of articles are knowledge which others have laid claim to. So if I have knowledge about something, if I think something about a concept, I will write a review on that. Okay, so for example, I have written one review on plant-based diet, how it can act as a therapy for this emerging zoonotic diseases. Because so this is what I feel. So these kind of a narrative reviews, basically, it is some knowledge which others claim. So you can get to read all these articles when you search journals. Then you have editorials. So these editorials are nothing but what I think of a piece of knowledge that someone else is already claiming. Then you have letters to editors. So the letters to editor is, suppose a journal is claiming certain kind of a knowledge, and I can write or you can write to the journal what you think about that particular knowledge. Then also you have something called a short communication. So this is again a research article which is compressed in a shorter format. So that is called as a short communication. And then you have something called as critical appraisals. So these critical appraisals are nothing but they are reports of a published article reflecting the merits and demerits of a study. So when you are searching for literature, or when you are searching for a topic for your dissertation or something, so you will come across all these. So you can see original article, you can see case reports, so you can see review articles, you can see short communication. So this different type of the orientation to different types of scientific articles is very important, because eventually in your 3-year postgraduate course you will also be writing any of these. You can write an original research article, you can publish case report, you can write a review article if you think of something, then you can write a book review, you can write letters to editors, so on and so forth. So let's go back to the history and just quickly what happened and how did all this evolve. So they say in 1665 the first scientific journal was published, and the first specialist journal was published in the early 18th century. Then the referencing of these articles began to be collected by the end of at the end of articles in the early in the late 1870s. Then the summaries appeared in the end of the article. Now also it is followed in the same format in the early 1920s. Then the first paper on the use of statistics was published in 1930s, because now statistics is a very integral part of the research. So the first paper was published during the early 1930s. Then there is a widespread use of IMRAD format in the 1950s. So now, as a postgraduate students, you should all know what is IMRAD format. IMRAD format is the format which most of the journals follow when you are writing a research article. So I stands for introduction, M for materials and methods or methodology, then R for results, and D for discussion. So any scientific article or a research article, when you open and see, you normally follow or you normally get to see this IMRAD format. Then in the 1960s, summaries at the end became the abstract. Now you see in any scientific article, you see the first section called as abstract. So this abstract is nothing but it is the gist of the whole article. If you read an abstract, you will come to know that okay, this article or this scientific writing is telling me so and so thing or such thing about this particular article. So earlier there used to be summaries. Now there is only a conclusion. So the summaries which used to be there earlier have become the abstract now. Then in the late 1970s, the database for all these journals was introduced, and then in the 1980s, first international conference on peer review started, and in the 1990s, introduction of e-journals have started. So this once this introduction of e-journal started, then there is a boom, or you can say that now everybody has an e-journal. Earlier there used to be hard copies of journals. Now you get open access free journals. You have e-journals. Then so many everybody like the old historical journals also have started venturing into online journals. Now you know that you can submit your journal online. Earlier there used to be a pattern where you used to need to write the article and you had to post it. Now all that doesn't happen. Everything is electronic. So by 2020 we have reached to online journals now. Next, coming to the classification of scientific papers. Now, what are these scientific papers? Now, there are many research papers. When you start reading about these journals or scientific papers, you see there are something called as data-driven papers. So, these data-driven papers will tell you, or they tell about the results of any surveys or any experiments. So, you get to see these data-driven papers. So, when you read these articles, you should be able to tell what kind of scientific paper this is, whether it's a data driven paper, whether it's a tutorial paper, whether it's a theoretical paper, or whether it's a review paper. So you should be able to tell what kind of a paper this is. Then there is something called as tutorial papers. Now these tutorial papers have started diminishing, but because the publishers are not very fond of publishing them, because in these papers they describe a method and explain how to use this particular thing. Then you have something called as method mongering papers. So they usually describe a method, usually with the aim of suggesting that it should be more widely used. So if you have developed a new method of, say, making an impression, or removing a teeth, or fixing a fracture or whatever, so these method mongering papers will describe that particular method. Then there is something called as consciousness raising papers. So they intend to raise awareness of issues which have not previously received sufficient attention in the field of research. Then there are theoretical papers. These theoretical papers are normally published by the authorities in the field. Then you have review papers. I spoke about the review papers. Now this is an era of meta-analysis and systematic reviews, where review papers are usually written by people who are so utterly familiar with the field that they would have read all the relevant papers related to that particular topic, and they come up with some concept or on that particular topic, which will help you write your thesis, or write your dissertation, write your library dissertation, so on and so forth. Then there are something called as concept papers. So these concept papers, now again, this is again an era of applying for funding, research grants, and all those things. So as a postgraduate student, you can also apply for research funding, ICMR funds, and there are so many areas where funding option is open. So this demonstration of concept, so you have a concept in mind, so you can evolve this demonstration of a particular concept, its feasibility and usefulness, if it is interesting, and they can come handy to apply for funding. So when you read articles, articles are classified like this. Again, they can be anything in this. Now coming to this journal club. So what is this journal club all about? So this is journal club is a group of individuals who meet regularly. I'm sure in the last 1.5 months you might have done journal clubs, obviously online. But what an ideal journal club looks like, if not for COVID, is that a group of individuals who meet regularly to critically read, understand, and evaluate the recently published article in the dental or medical literature. So this is how it is normally done. Okay, so you take an article, you read, evaluate about one particular topic or literature. So there is a historical background for this journal club also. So how it all started. So I'm sure you must have heard about Sir James Paget. So it all started with him way back, where they used to meet in a small room over a baker's shop in the evening after the work, and they used to discuss about one particular case or something. So this is how this concept of journal club started. Then Sir William Osler also continued this, and he was recognized as a founder of journal clubs in the late 18th century. So what is this ultimate aim of you as a PG doing this particular journal club? So the primary aim until 1980s was to provide its members with up-to-date medical literature. But quite recently, all this has changed. How it has changed? Now it has become a forum for teaching and learning critical appraisal of techniques. So when I say critical appraisal, it tells you to how to critically evaluate one particular article. So this has become more of a teaching and learning experience for a postgraduate student, or maybe a researcher, or even faculty. And it has become a forum where this method helps to promote or helps us to practice more evidence-based dentistry. Now, what are the common goals for this particular journal club? So what is the ultimate or a common goal you want to achieve? So providing participation with an updated medical dental literature. Then again, as I said, teaching and learning the technique of critical appraisal of the available existing literature, and ultimately promoting the importance of the research findings into the day-to-day clinical practice, which will help the public health or community at large. Now, what are the benefits? So, as a postgraduate, if you ask me, you will develop a lot of learning presentation skills. You might be doing it extempore, or you might do a PowerPoint presentation, or so forth. But I'm sure you will develop a lot of presentation skills, and also you will also get a lot of feedback, and there's a lot of scope for improvement, or from your faculty, from your guides, or anybody in the department. So there are so many benefits, and the most important thing is you get an updated knowledge. Then how do you prepare for this particular journal club? So when you want to present a journal club, how do you prepare? So the first thing is you encourage the presenter to plan ahead. So the presenter has to plan much in advance uh, about this particular journal club. And then when you want to present a journal club, the research papers or the articles or whatever you are presenting should be handed out to the participants to read in advance. So you want to present a journal club, you want to conduct a journal club, you have to give handouts, or now everybody sends via WhatsApp or email to your colleagues, where you can reach out with the article to all your colleagues, whoever is participating. And but all this has to be planned well in advance, because the participants should also read this particular article when they are attending the journal club. And as you know, the presentation can be used using a talk and talk or overhead projector, but most of the times it is PowerPoint. Now, coming to the type of journal clubs, there are various type of journal clubs. They can be formulated and organized, keeping an eye above set goals, whatever common goals we had or we want to achieve. There are various types of journal clubs. So the journal clubs are aimed at updating knowledge related to field of interest. So this is a first type of journal club where you can update a knowledge related to the field of interest. So how you can do this? The primary objective here will be about the current concepts, ideas, or the trends. You can just track and you can update. So that is one type of journal club. And there is the second type of journal club, which will be aimed at updating a clinical practice. So you take a research article and you come, or you see a method or a newly designed equipment, or a newly patented material, or an equipment, or whatever it is, where in one session you discuss whether this can be used to increase your skill in the clinical practice. So the primary objective here is to import the research finding to a regular day-to-day practice. So the journal club can be aimed at that, where updating your clinical practice. And now what we are actually presently practicing is this third one, where it aims at the teaching and learning critical appraisal techniques with evidence-based medicine or dentistry. Because now we are in the era of evidence-based clinical practice. Without evidence, we should not be working. So we are in that particular stage. So presently, the postgraduate programs or the general club programs are targeted or are based on this particular type. So we are here basically. We are doing appraisal of the articles because we need to practice evidence-based. So basically, there are two types again. The first one is critical appraisal of the journal club, and the second one is the evidence-based journal clubs. And others you have is a problem-based journal club. So basically, this problem-based journal club has, there will be one issue. You take up that problem and you conduct a journal club based or around that particular problem. And the other type of journal club is an alternate journal club. So this alternate journal club is for those where creativity is an additional element, where you can use a video, you can use a book, you can make a storytelling, and you can incorporate all this and make it more interesting. So you can also conduct an alternate journal club. And there is one more recent concept of innovative journal club. This is based on utilizing an adult learning theory, where these are the principles of adult learning theory, where they're relating the learning task to immediate work experience, or use of a problem solving technique, use of multiple teaching format, use of a frequent constructive format. So when you have participants, when you have your moderator, or when you are a presenter, you can also try to bring in this particular change where you can conduct these innovative journal clubs. So now you have an orientation of what is a journal club, what is it all about, what are the scientific articles, what is the research, and so on and so forth. You can you know how to start. Now you as a PG, suppose your faculty or a guy tells you, okay, you can take a journal club now. So what you should be doing, or how to start a particular journal club. So how to start a particular journal club? So the first important thing is you should select a director. So what is this director and what is his role? So in your department, you can select. So you are presenting, so you can select a director. So you should have an interested person. It can be anybody. It can be any of your faculty who is selected as a director. That particular person should have a strong conviction that journal clubs play a very important role in increasing the knowledge base. So you should have a good director who has a lot of academic appetite, and who knows about research methodology, who knows about scrutinizing the articles, who knows about statistics. So selecting a director, because the ultimate goal you can achieve when you about of this particular session would be when you have a good director who will moderate it thoroughly, or the entire process. Then you should have defined the goals before starting the journal club. You know, where you have where you teach and learn critical evaluation of the techniques and skills of that particular article or research. Then to adopt findings of clinical research with regular day-to-day practice. Then very important task is you should optimize the attendance, sticking to a fixed schedule. So you fix up a schedule 1 week prior or 15 days prior, and make sure you follow that schedule. So that becomes very important, because you might have told 10 faculty or your OPGs, next Friday I'm having this particular session, and make sure that you do it on the same day and same time, so that you have an optimum attendance, and your journal club is very effective. And you should generate participant interest, meaning when you are, see, how can you generate a participant interest? Just not by sending them the articles. You need to have a constant exchange of ideas, and you need to interact them during the presentation. Then only you can generate. And the topic should be of very area where it is very interesting. Otherwise, if it's a excuse me, if it's a very boring topic, or it's a very old concept, people might not be interested in that particular article. So generating a participant interest is very important. So they also recommend to have a round table or a horseshoe shaped seating pattern, where everybody has an eye-to-eye contact, which will help more productivity at the end of journal club. So that is one way of generating a participant interest. Then what are the special preparations you can do for your journal club when you are doing critical appraisal is you should have fundamental knowledge about epidemiology and biostatistics. Now you all postgraduate students are researchers as well. So you should start reading about epidemiology, and you should also start reading about research methodologies, research design, study designs, sampling techniques, and biostatistics. Very, very important. I know many people have this, oh, I don't like biostatistics, I don't like research methodology, but no. As postgraduates, you are researchers, you will be doing research, you will be doing short-term research, you will be doing postgraduate thesis. So you should be updated with this particular knowledge of epidemiology, research methodology, and statistics. So how this format should be, the whole format should be. So a successful journal club are generally those with a single designated leader and compulsory attendance. As I said, you should have a director and you should have good attendance. Normally article should be selected or approved, or the date should be fixed 2 to 3 weeks before, so that everybody gets sufficient time to prepare this particular topic or read that particular topic. Then the student should confidently present the content evaluation report with his or own opinion and defend with proper reasoning. You can accept it or you can reject it, but that you have to do with a proper reasoning. So how should this journal club session look like when you're doing it? You can see the pictures, you can see the images. You must have seen your seniors doing this. So ideally, it is suggested you should have a round horseshoe or a round table. But it's okay to have our normal seating arrangement, what we have in the seminar rooms, because they are also good enough where you can have a good eye-to-eye contact. Then the presenter. So if you are presenting, you should initiate and lead the discussion. It is not just a one-way lecture, where in the journal club session, it is normally a interaction. So you as a presenter should initiate and lead on any particular topic or a discussion on that. Then the moderator solicit the comments from the participants to stimulate discussion when they are not forthcoming. So meaning you have to actively engage all the participants here. Then the director should direct the session and break when confronted by. So director has a major role here where he can interrupt, where he can stop if it is going away from the track or out of the focus group discussion. So the director can take an call on that. Then an attempt should be made by the members to reach consensus, especially in the wake of divergent options. So people might differ, or 5 people might have one opinion, 5 people might tell that oh, this method we cannot use it, and the evidence is not enough, and they can all agree or they can all disagree. So the director can take a call and he can confront anyone in this particular session. So this is how a journal club should look like. So what is the most valuable part of a journal club? So when you are doing a journal club, what is the most valuable part? So selecting articles which have different study designs, which are recent, which give a lot of benefit or add value to the existing current literature. So your job is to select such articles. So that will add a lot of value to the journal. That will also add interest. Then there's something called as creating controversy, where you can engage your audience with a debate format, and you can search articles with opposing hypotheses, opposing conclusions in the same session. And so this particular creating controversy will make it more engaging and more interactive. Then meticulous analysis of a single article. So when you have a single article in the journal club, you need to meticulously analyze this particular article. Maybe it is the methodology what they have used, maybe the results what they have got, or maybe what they are trying to discuss at the end of the research. Then obviously the problem based learning. So we are at PBL, where we all are involved, and all the members who are there should focus on this particular thing called as a problem based learning. So this is the most valuable part of a journal club. So why do we need journal club? So after all this, why is it so important for us? So yes, we need journal club because we need to keep ourselves updated with the literature, existing literature, not to forget the old, but yes, to keep updated with the existing literature. Then what this journal club offers, it offers a forum for teaching and learning. So you can teach and you can learn the critical appraisal technique. So what is this critical appraisal? This is the most important thing. It usually comes with a surprise to students, that some will know that whether this article is fit for the dustbin or whether it is really helpful. So this particular learning or this appraisal technique you will learn only when you conduct or when you attend journal clubs. So this critical evaluation is also called as a science of trashing papers. There are so much articles, you will feel what is all a lie, or this is not good enough. So this is what journal club offers, the critical appraisal techniques. Once you learn these critical appraisal techniques as a postgraduate student, it will help you to either accept a particular scientific paper or reject a particular scientific paper. Now, what is the impact of journal club? At the end of this particular journal club, it will improve reading habits by enabling the critical thinking or meta-analysis, or sorry, meta questioning or meta thinking, etc. It helps you to expand the body of knowledge, or whatever you have read in a person. It helps or it facilitates acquisition of new skills. It includes scientific temperament by promoting the questioning attitude. So this is how, once you start doing journal clubs, you will evolve yourself how to look at an article, how to read an article. At the end of the journal club, you will arrive at this. Now coming to the critical appraisal. Now this is all about journal club. This journal club and critical appraisal or a critical evaluation or also a reflection, they go hand in hand. So I cannot miss this. So just quickly wanted to tell what is this particular critical appraisal. So this is process of carefully and systematically analyze a research paper to judge its trustworthiness, its value and relevance in a particular context. So once you read an article, you should be in a position at the end of the journal club where you carefully and systematically analyze one research paper, a scientific research paper, where you will be in a position to tell, okay, yes, I agree to this, and this is done in a much proper way, in the right methodology, and these conclusions can be believed, and its value and the relevance in a particular context can be believed. So this is what is critical appraisal. And this critical evaluation, this is basically a science and art, some people will believe and some people might not believe. So it comes in two components. One is the appraisal and the other one is the reflection. So why do we need to critically appraise one particular article? Why do we need to evaluate this particular article? Because we need evidence to practice. So that is the main reason. We need some kind of evidence. If somebody is doing something, if you want to accept it, that means you need to believe it, and then you can practice that particular thing. So to practice, you need evidence. Then you have critical appraisal of articles because they give you evidence. And this critical appraisal helps in developing the necessary skills to make sense of scientific evidence based on the validity, results, and relevance. Because you need to know whether the results can be believed, whether they are relevant to your population, whether the study or the research done in US or European countries can be done in your setup, in your college, in your department. So you need to have the skill, or you need to develop this skill of critically evaluating or critically appraising one particular article. And then a critical review must identify the strength and limitation in a research paper. At the end of reading this particular research paper, you should be in a position where you tell that, okay, this research paper has strength, okay, and this research paper has certain limitations. And every study cannot be foolproof. There will be some particular limitation. Whether when you want to do your thesis or your dissertation, whether you want to overcome these, whether you want to take these particular strengths. So this is how, or this is why you need critical appraisal. You should know how to appraise an article. So this critical appraisal is basically what? It is putting research into practice. So existing research, you take it up and you put it into practice. So this is a very essential step in the process of putting research into practice. So this is how you do it basically. The first thing you do it, asking question about the research methodology, whether they have used a proper method to calculate the sample size, whether they have used a proper method to use a proper study design, then whether they have used appropriate methods to scrutinize the data, how they have collected data, how they have used the statistical method, whether the statistical tests used are appropriate. So all these things come up when you start learning or when you start doing the critical appraisal. Then evaluating the findings and results, whether the results can be actually believed or not, whether the hypothesis can be believed or not. So all this is very, very essential when you do journal club. So it will help to determine whether the article's conclusion should influence your practical decision making. So your book says something, the research article says something. Whether the appraisal of any particular research should determine whether this can be believed or whether you can adopt this particular thing. So basically, you can practice evidence-based dentistry when you start appraising the research articles. So as I said, why this is essential for us? Because there are a lot of research happening. There are lakhs and lakhs of research papers getting published, and so many are not of good quality. And many research are biased and they're not done in a proper way. Maybe the methodology is not good, the sample technique is not good, so on and so forth. So some results are untrue. You cannot believe their conclusion. They might be a false conclusion. If you adopt this false conclusion, then what happens is it will lead to a significant public health problem. You might do something wrong. Okay, even if you follow evidence when is wrong. So the critical appraisal of a journal or an article in the journal club is very important for all of us, because you need to do the right thing at the end of the day. So that is why it is very, very essential. So now just quickly I want to tell how does a scientific article or a research article looks like. Suppose if you all of you who are listening here, if you have a research article, if you just quickly open a research article or say a original article, as I was mentioning earlier, it comes in a IMRAD format. So it has a title, it has authors, it has abstract. Abstract is what I told was a gist, and it has introduction, it has methodology. I stands for introduction, M for materials and methods or methodology. Then comes the results, then discussion, then conclusion, and the references. So this is how a structure of a scientific article looks like. So you have this title, then why you are doing the study, what is the research question. So what is the research question will be at the end of the introduction in every article. Then you have methods. What did the authors actually do? So the methodology is where you actually focus on. How did they do it? Whether you yourself can do it in the present setup. Then what are the results? So whether they can be believed. What was the answer to the question? So in the introduction, they will ask a research question. In the methodology, using a method, they try to answer that particular research question. Whether this is often shown in the tables and figure format. Then you have discussion. So you have got a result. So what? So what next? So what is the significance of this particular project, or what is the result telling you? How does it fit in? What else is known about the topic? See, discussion and conclusion mainly focus on that. Then references. So reference is again a vast topic. You can talk hours on the referencing and the referencing style. But basically, this is how article structure looks like. So when you are critically appraising the article, or when you are critically evaluating the article, you need to check for relevance and validity of an article. Is the study question relevant? When you take an article, you should see whether they have a study question, whether they have a hypothesis. Does it add anything to the literature, anything new to the literature? What type of questions have been asked? Was the study design appropriate? Did the method address the most important source of bias? Because any research, there will be some kind of a bias. So when you are assessing the relevance, or when you are appraising an article, you need to ask all these questions. Or when you are conducting a journal club, you need to ask all these particular questions. Was the study performed according to the original protocol projected? Does the study test an hypothesis? You start with a hypothesis. Does this article or a journal or a scientific literature, what you are reading, test the hypothesis, and where the statistical analysis performed correctly, whether the statistics used in this particular article are correctly performed, and do the data justify the conclusion, whether the conclusions can be believed or not. And very important, are there any conflict of interest? So whether there is a conflict of interest, whether this was a funded study, whether this was funded by a particular, say if you are doing research on a toothbrush or a toothpaste, whether they have funded and the results have been biased, or results have been inclined towards their particular product. So you need to see all these particular things when you are doing an evaluation. So how do you do it? So it all starts from the title of a paper. Okay, the title of research paper. You see an article, it has a title. So what you have to see in a title is this particular thing. Does it relate to the topic you are searching for? You are interested in one particular topic, whether the title of the paper is relevant. Does it have the important keywords for what you are searching? Does it mention where it is studied or where the study was done? Does it mention what type of the study design was used? Does it mention what outcome is studied? So there's normally a PICO format. It's called as a PICO format, where the patient or the population, intervention or issue, comparison or an intervention, or outcome of interest is available. So you need to see for PICO when you see a title of a research paper. So this is how you critically appraise one particular title. And then you should see for the author, because author's name and their affiliation speaks a lot about that particular research. So you should also find out who is the author, whether they have done extensive research, so that it will not to be biased, but it might help you to uh, uh, practice evidence based industry, I can say. You can also see for who is the corresponding author. So when you are doing a journal club, you see who is the corresponding author for an particular scientific writing, so that you can contact them. You have any more doubts, you have any clarifications, you can go back to the, because they normally, the corresponding author gives the email and the contact number. You can email them and you can ask your query, whether you want to do a similar kind of study. You can always go back to them and you can ask them how this can be done, and you have any doubts, you can easily get back. So the authors of the paper become very important here. And you have something called as abstract. When you are evaluating, you see there are structured abstract and there are unstructured abstract. It normally depends on the requirement of a journal. Then in the abstract, it gives, as I said earlier, a brief gist of the entire article. So you should see whether the abstract and the entire gist matches, whether what they are telling in the abstract have they followed in the entire article. Then you have introduction. You should search for the research question here. And the introduction should give the gist or the background of what you are basically trying to study here. It should tell you, the final paragraph here should tell what is the ultimate aim or an objective of this particular study. Then you come to the methodology. When you are critically appraising the particular article or a research, the methodology is very important. You should see whether, where and what type of population this particular study is done, whether it's a community, Asian, Western, whatever. So the study population you have to focus on. Whether, why it becomes important, because if you want to adopt a similar methodology, whether it is practical for you, you will come to know when you critically evaluate or critically appraise any methodology. Then comes the study design. So you have a particular concept in your mind, what kind of study design to apply. So when you read all these articles, you can, or you try to evaluate, you should try to know whether it was a cross-sectional study, whether it was a longitudinal study, whether it is a prospective study, clinical trial, randomized trial. Okay, so all these things are very important when you want to critically evaluate, especially the methodology. And different type of study designs will have different type of checklist. I just want to project this particular thing. See, nowadays we are all into randomized control trials or clinical trials. Postgraduate students are very much interested in doing trials. So when you want to critically evaluate an article, so this is a concept checklist. So in this checklist, you have all these sections or topics. So you need every journal club, if at all you want to evaluate or you are doing a journal club presentation, please make sure you take this particular checklist and you take a print of it and you need to report. See, there's one section where it is reported on page number. Okay, so whether this entire article or whether this journal is answering all these questions. If all these questions are answered, then you need to make a note of it. It will become very easy for you to conduct a trial or to follow a similar kind of research. So this is a consult checklist when you report a randomized control trial. So you likewise, when you do cross-sectional studies, you have different checklists. So I'm not going to detail about all that. Then you have the results. So when you appraise a particular journal or a scientific writing, you see for the presentation of data how they are presented, and then you have statistical significance where you see the p-value. Then you see for the strength of correlation and all sort of things when you read the results. Then coming to the very important part is the discussion. So discussion tells you whether you can, whether the findings are same or whether there are, you also see the contrasting findings, and whether they are reasonably or logically presented or logically explained. So that is what you're looking for when you are reading a discussion. And what are the strength and limitations of the study? No study comes without a limitation. every article has some or the other strength, but yes, you should also look for what are the limitations of the study. The main thing is you overcome that particular limitation, you try to overcome, or you try to avoid that particular limitation in your study. And you also try to evaluate or appraise whether the authors are hiding something, or whether they are not declared any conflict of interest or any strength or limitation. So this is also a very important part when you are critically appraising or evaluating an article. Then conclusion, very important, whether the conclusion can be believed, whether the study is valid, whether it is appropriate, whether the methodology, the tools they have used, the questionnaire they have used, whether the analysis is being done properly. All this you will do, or you evaluate at the end when you read the conclusion. So is the conclusion based on the findings of the study? Yes, you should see, or you should try to look for it, whether they have told what is the aim, and whether the conclusion is made or is arrived depending on what is the aim of the study. So all this you need to know, or you need to learn. Coming to the end, why do you need to do all this? What is the ultimate thing? So you need to establish what is called as an internal and an external validity of a study. When you read an article, when you read a journal, when you read a scientific article, there is something called as internal validity of a study. uh, whether it is telling us what it is intended to measure, what is to be measured, whether it is telling us the same thing. So as a scientific researcher, or as a postgraduate student, you should be able to tell whether there is internal validity or external validity. So what is this internal validity? So the internal validity is, can I believe the results? So you should be able to tell when you read an article, can I believe this one particular result of this particular study or a research? Where this will involve the critical appraisal skills of you as a researcher, where you will assess the methodology and the methodology quality of that particular research. So that is the internal validity. Then what is external validity? So assuming the result of a study is internally valid, so you say that, okay, this methodology is appropriate, it is correct, I can believe this particular methodology based on this particular thing, assuming the result of the study which is internally valid, how true it can be applied to the wider population. So the ultimate aim is to practice how widely, or how you can apply to the outside population. So that is the external validity. There will be some research which will be beautifully done, which will have a high internal validity, but you cannot apply it to the population. You might not find an external validity. So that is all okay. So you should be in a position that you should tell about the validity of a study. You should talk, when you are doing journal club, you should talk about internal validity and external validity of that particular research article. And you should always keep in mind, when you are critically evaluating an article, that always the results are biased. Any scientific article, you should always keep in mind that there is some kind of a bias which you cannot overcome, or you cannot avoid. And statistics does not equal to truth. Okay, so that is one thing which you should always keep in mind. Statistics is not the truth. Okay, so I'm not going to detail in all that clinical significance, statistical significance, but that does not equal to truth. That is what I can say. So finally, what I have learned from this reading this paper, you should be able to tell. And what are the things that can be improved from this particular study or the research article, you should be able to tell. And you should be able to use that particular article to enter relevant information when you are doing your review of literature, or when you are reviewing the literature for your thesis or dissertation. So the skills from critical appraisal can help you in preparing a good proposal, as well as in writing your research dissertation. So this skill, what you develop or what you learn at the end of journal club, or by doing journal club, will help you how to search a thesis topic or a research topic. And eventually when you master it, it will help you to write your research dissertation, or your library dissertation, or your thesis dissertation. So this is all about how to do a journal club, what is a journal club, how to conduct a journal club, what are the type of scientific writing, what are the type of scientific articles, research articles. I hope I have tried to touch up on briefly on all these particular questions. These are my references. There's a beautifully book written by L. Nagesh. It's a handbook on journal club and critical evaluation. You can always buy this book. It comes very handy when you want to learn the critical appraisal skills. So I'll take questions if there are any. You can ask any questions if anybody has any doubts.
Thank you, Praveen. It was really a very exhaustive overview of Journal Club, and you gave a in-depth insight on the Journal Club presentation. We are very glad to have you. So, as Dr. Praveen has rightly said, the first thing when you choose an article and when you read an article, you should be able to say, can I follow the said results of the article in my daily practice? So you need to say whether there are any drawbacks of the study, what are the strength of the study, whether the methodology has any flaws, whether the results are well tabulated and discussed, what are the other studies related to same topics. So all the whether this clinical implication of this particular study, can I have this clinical implication for my population? So all these things you need to critically appraise when you're reading an article or when you're presenting an. So I feel if you have any questions, because it's a very good topic to discuss, and I'm sure many of you are not aware of this topic. So if you have any doubts, any queries regarding the journal, please put your questions on the
You
chat
can
box,
put your questions in the chat box.
or you can unmute yourself and
Yes,
you can ask
you
the
can
questions.
also ask, because this is one topic where everybody, all the departments do. It is not just public health dentistry. Every department in the college, they would conduct journal clubs. So it is very helpful, and it also, as I said, will help you uh, find your research topic and write your thesis. Thank you, Harikishore.
Okay, Praveen, I only will ask on behalf of
Yeah.
postgraduate students so that I can wake them up. So, can you give some tips to the postgraduate students in choosing a journal club article?
Well, actually, that's a good tip, because we don't know how to get an article, or we don't know what topic to choose. So the best way is to find an interest in the topic. They have to. Now, suppose if you are postgraduate in public health dentistry, the ideal way of choosing a topic is you try to develop interest in one particular area. So, say for example, cancer, or say for example, flu rights, or health education, or preventive procedure. So, what I suggest is, as a postgraduate, whatever department you are in, develop, or you try to find out first. In the first step, I would say you read any literature and you focus on one particular topic which you like the most. Okay, so suppose you like preventive dentistry, so you take a preventive dentistry topic and then go in depth and try to focus on that particular one topic. Otherwise you will be lost. You will be lost in searching an article. This happens very commonly. Use Because why it is very important, why I said it's a very good question is, see, now you are in first year and you would not really know what you want to do, basically. So you end up taking a topic, and when you start doing it, you will have a lot of problems. You will think that, oh shit, why did I take this particular topic? I should have taken something else. All this happen when you don't have a proper research question, or a research, what do you say, focus in the beginning. So as how to select a topic is you need to read literature first, and you need to take one particular topic which will interest you. So put a lot of time in reviewing the literature. So I would say, please go to the library almost every day, or you can access e-journals, but you need to read research vastly. You can invest. See, for example, now the synopsis submission date is October end. So now we are in August. So I would say, plan properly and invest a month's time in reading literature, so that you get one topic which you like and which is practically easy and suitable and economical, I would say, and which can be easily done as a part of your curriculum. So that is one tip I can give, where to select an research article for a journal club. Even if you want to just present it also, you need to have interest in it. Otherwise, the journal club, the whole idea of a journal club won't be impactful. It won't be, it won't, what do you say, the outcome will not be good, I would say. Yes.
Add one thing that when you are selecting the article, make sure a peer-reviewed journal you should select from, because there are
Yes.
n number of different journals available. So indexing of that article you need to go through and make sure they are indexed in good database like Scopus or PubMed or
Web of Science.
Just this type of journals will definitely give you more overview of that particular subject.
Yes, I would just want to add one thing of what Dr. Anupama ma'am just told. See, to make things very easy for you in the beginning, please select journal club articles which are indexed in these domains what ma'am told. Either it is PubMed or PubMed Central, Scopus, Q1, Q2 journals, or say Q3 journals also, then Web of Science. Don't go beyond this, because you will end up feeling that everything can be done, anything can be published. No, try to get articles and try to read articles or scientific literature only from these particular domains or database. That will help you to practice evidence-based dentistry, I would say. Yes, any more questions anybody want to ask? I see 72 people here. Is anyone? Yes, Akshata, Akanksha, I know few Shrestha, I know few of them from other departments. My is I know. Yes, anybody who wants to ask? They are
I'm sure that all the students have realized that it is a very clarified subject now. They know everything. So I'm sure these postgraduate students, when they start presenting journal clubs, we faculty members can catch them there, because they know everything in the journal club. They don't have any doubts.
And I thank our Dean Sir, Dr. Akhtar Hussain. I would thank the Department of Dental Education, which is coordinated and very well conducted by Dr. Imran Pasha and his team, Dr. Junaid. I would like to thank Amara, and I would also like to thank Dr. Anupama ma'am to moderating this particular session. I request you to please give me a thank Anu also. Then I request you to please give me a feedback, so that if there is any lacunae where I can improve in my presentation. So I thank you one and all, and I welcome you all for this particular postgraduate program, and I hope you do a lot of learning and do a lot of research and publish a lot of scientific articles in the coming 3 years. So I wish you all good luck, and have good 3 years of learning in Yenepoya. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Praveen sir. So here we come to the end of part 1 of Epiphysia 2020. I would like to thank all the speakers of today's sessions who have worked hard to prepare the content for the postgraduates. The team of Yenepoya Dental Education Unit who have worked tirelessly to put up this program for you all. And I would also like to thank our principal, Dr. Akhtar Hussain sir, Vice Principals of Yenepoya Dental College, Dr. Shambhat sir, Dr. Lakshmikant Chhatra sir, and Dr. Majid Jodh. and also the Registrar of Yenepoya deemed to be University, Dr. Gangadhar Somayaji sir, Vice Chancellor of Yenepoya deemed to be University, Dr. Vijay Kumar sir, for permitting to conduct this program for today.